Hi, this is Dr. Scott, and today we're going to talk about how much do hearing aids really cost, and should I see someone local about it? Well, as a hearing solution expert, one of the things that we tend to spend time on is how to communicate this stuff to you. And you see, I was in a meeting probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and this one guy who is outside of our industry comes in and says, "How much? What do you tell your patients when they call up on the phone?" And so people would say things, "Well, it ranges from a few hundred to a few thousand." And if that doesn't sound like a very satisfying answer to you, it isn't to me either. And yet I used it for a long time, but something inside of me sensed that we needed to say it a little differently. Hearing aids, first off, 80% of the people need two ears because you were made with two ears. Now, there are people who have one ear that's perfect or one ear that is so far gone for whatever reason. Let me give you an example of someone who's so far gone he couldn't possibly get help. He was one of those World War II veterans. This is obviously 25 years ago, right? So he's a World War II veteran, and he was crawling through the jungles, the island hopping in the Pacific. And he said he crawled past a bamboo shoot, and it just happened to be laying by his ear. And his words, Jap threw the soldier. I mean, through the grenade. No, grenades that were made by the Japanese soldiers were a little bit different. They didn't have the fragmentation that the American-made grenade of the World War II had. They had the little spike points that were like little shoot outs, right? And they were a little bit more simplistic in what they did, but they were incredibly loud, just like a grenade is. But if it was 10 feet away, it's not as wounding to him the where he actually was staying. But that thing was a tube that went right down to his left ear. He sits in the room and his left ear is to the wall. And he's like, "I don't hear out of the ear." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't hear out of the ear. But this is my good ear." I'm like, "No, it's not. Just because the tube killed off this left ear didn't mean the right ear didn't get affected." We tested his hearing and he just needed one hearing aid. But most people need two hearing aids. So we tell people like this: hearing aids for a pair of them range $2,500, five, six, and $7,000. And that's the best way of saying it. No one says it the way that we say it. Now that I put it out there, other people might use that. I don't care. The reality is that when you're upfront with people, they love it. They love that kind of an interaction in that way. But how do you know which one you have to get? Well, that's why you have to have an evaluation. You can't just order something over the phone. If you notice that almost nothing that you try to look up and you try to find out about, there's so many different options. Well, with hearing aids, there are options you can't choose. And so that's why you need to have a local person that does this. I know that there are companies, even like Hear.com, who try to sell you hearing aids and say you'll talk to an audiologist on the phone. There are too many times that I touch an ear and I start noticing something crazy about it. Or a person has an ear that has been cut off with some external cancerous growths. And at that point, then we have to change things up. I have other people that one ear pens back farther than the other one. Do you know that in the womb, when you're growing and you're born, what before you're born, obviously, what happens is that your facial structures come together like this. And sometimes they don't come together exactly the same. That's why your eyes are a little bit off and your ears can be a little bit off, or however your nose might sit. Actually, even when an optometrist looks at glasses, my glasses do not sit exactly the same way right to left. It's because that's how different you are. You see, no one online can actually figure that stuff out without seeing you in person. That's why you need to see that local audiologist who's going to find those answers that are specific to you, because we see it all the time. Someone we have to, even if we have the ones like what I wear that are wire pieces that go over the ear, sometimes they can't wear this kind of thing. Sometimes you have to make a custom mold because their ear moves so dramatically. I have people that one side moves more dramatically than the other side. There's all kinds of ways that we have to do adjustments. That doesn't affect the cost, it's the technology inside. The more expensive the technology, the more stuff that it does for the more active person. Now, we actually have some videos upon that to show you which type of one, from the level 3, the level 5, the level 7, and the level 9. You can watch this on this hearing channel at heartulsa.com. Thanks so much.